DIE of. Okay, this is the last video before we get stuck into some exercises. I think this is video Éireann number 6. Okay. We're talking about practicing for about 15 minutes a day minimum. That can be 3 5-minute slots or 1 15-minute slot. Trying to get a routine in as best we can. 1 hour a day, once a week, doesn't really cut it as much as that regular check-in. Again, 15 minutes or 5 minutes in the morning, noon and night. Some of the exercises are better in the morning, midday, evening or night time. Just pay attention to those when you come across them. And sometimes that's important because some of them might be really amplifying for your energy, not good close to bedtime, and others are better for sleep time. So again, being aware of that. Sometimes then with the exercises, you can have a bank of stuff that you like to do regularly that you're working on, and then some of them might just come in once a month. Or you might say, well, I'm actually really focusing on my vital field, so I'm going to do a lot more vital energies. You don't necessarily have to have a kind of regimented or have to do a total balance of these. You can emphasize an energy field or an aspect of an energy field that you really feel you want to focus on, but really do try to focus on the weaker areas or the areas that you find might need more attention, whilst also just touching in with the other ones. Okay, so touching in with everything, and then you can have an emphasis on something, and then if you feel fairly balanced overall, you can have a fairly overall balanced approach. Taking the relationship with the elements, being patient with that, okay, whether that's flowers or water or crystals or whatever that is, being really patient with that, getting used to the exercises first, and then from there seeing if you can sense the subtleties in nature that might influence the exercises and how they feel. Again, the vital strengthening elements would be flowering plants, fast growing plants, wild growing meadows. The stabilizing elements will be strong plants like trees and shrubs. The emotional strengthening elements, fresh water and sunlight, and stabilizing flowing water, rain and moonlight. And the mental strengthening, hard minerals like quartz, gemstones and glass, and mental stabilizing soft minerals like metals, soil and pebbles. Okay, the authors talk about diet, and they just say that the Druids were most likely vegetarian but not vegan, focused on plant-based foods, so trying to avoid processed foods and trying to eat a plant-based whole food diet is generally the consensus. Taking your time when you're eating. Eating is an absorption process. You're taking something into the body, preserving that time for your digestion of your food rather than adding extra sensory stimulus like phone or telly or whatever it might be. Gives you the best chance to make most use of that nutrition that's coming your way. Eating with the weather as well, so eat more hot foods in the wintertime and cooler foods in the summertime. So fruits and salads and juices in the summer, a bit more of maybe stews. It even mentions animal protein here. Not everybody might be interested in animal protein, and that's okay. Herbal teas in the wintertime. Okay, so the few things to just wrap this up in terms of the effects of WYDA are things like stillness, clarity, also strength in mental processes, emotional processes, vital processes, in representing oneself in the world, feeling safe and accepted in the world. gives examples like if you're very frustrated and you find that you're getting overwhelmed with emotion and it's really difficult to manage. Oh, excuse me. That taking your time, coming back to your body, doing some of the exercises, trying to move that energy through, metabolize that energy, and then directing it somewhere where it becomes useful. Now, I'll give you an example of that from my own perspective. I think passion and anger are two very similar emotions, and I think they can get confused very easily. And a lot of my anger that I have metabolized to be able to communicate, and a lot of it is here, it's with me all the time, is allowing me to communicate very passionately about what I care about. And I'm very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about this because I see it as an opportunity to create connection amongst people who are very, where there's separation. This is an opportunity to create connection where there's separation. And it's one of the connections, for example, is between the kind of more energetic language of WYDA, but then the more muscle movement physiotherapy language of Posture Restoration Institute, and just show how, look, these two things are showing the same thing. Another emotion might be sadness, and sadness might crop up whenever talking about a particularly sensitive topic. And for me, when I've been able to metabolize or process that sadness, I've thus been able to go into that topic and talk about that topic really steadily. And I think that's a good thing because then it allows me to share about that topic, share how I feel about that topic, highlight that topic, bring that into awareness. And that to me then is a good thing because it helps me to grow and helps me to share the lessons that I've learned in that growth. Major things are observing the body. Okay, being comfortable in observing the body. Noticing if there's tension anywhere. Noticing if there's discomfort anywhere. And then understanding why it's there and being able to work through and process it. Sitting for periods of time, for example, and not being irritable. You're not, I used to be very fidgety, doing this or like shaking my leg a lot. I think a lot of that now is kind of like in the harp. So my fidgetiness is in the harp. I think I was just practicing the harp all the time. So it's elements like that it's given me that sense of feeling a bit more settled. And again, it's not that has been because I've been doing WYDA all this time. It's not that. It's that WYDA is a language that's helping me to communicate something to you that allows for a kind of, how would I say, a broad spectrum of communication. WYDA would have body language in there also. The same way posture restoration would talk about body language. Your posture is your body language. WYDA talks about posture. WYDA is about posture. Posture restoration is about posture. And so if we sit or stand or are in a more natural posture, it's easier to stay there for longer periods of time and less irritable. Okay, there's loads of other positives, increased alertness, readiness, efficiency, more balance, more willpower, more motivation, more physical strength, all these kinds of things. One of the elements that they specify is that the strengthening component can take a bit of time, but when you get onto the stabilizing component, it can take a little bit longer. The strengthening element is more noticeable in the beginning, and the stabilizing can take a little bit longer to notice, but once you notice it, then it becomes really profound. Okay, Sinead, slán!